Alright guys, welcome. I had a video out last week about the four main OOPS concept, or they like to call it a color. I mean, not color, sorry, pillar. So the four main pillars, and today we are going to kind of deep dive a little bit into one of the pillar of the OOPS concept, and that is going to be inheritance in C sharp or any language, doesn't really matter, right? And who is this being presented by? Well, of course, your favorite YouTuber. All right, moving on, right? Moving on. Let's see. What's cooking today, right? Well, let's see. We're basically going to start with the basics of inheritance, right? And this is what it's gonna follow throughout my, upcoming videos as well, or the other remaining three pillars. This is how I'm basically gonna have the layout. And if you guys have any other recommendation, definitely let me know down in the comments. All right. So what's cooking? Well, we're gonna start it off with the basics of inheritance, and we are going to go to the syntax. So I'm gonna kind of show you a little bit of that, and we're gonna talk about the benefits, the challenges, and the use cases, and then finally we'll get our hands dirty, and the conclusion part we'll get there, right? So start it up with the basics, right? All right, inheritance basics, right? Well, in C sharp, inheritance, or in any really programming language, right? Inheritance itself is a very, very powerful tool, which allows a class to inherit the properties of another class or base class, right? Allowing for easier use of code and a simpler maintenance. And the derived class, which inherits the member of the base class, right, including fields, methods, and events, and can add new member of its own. This might seem a little bit confusing, to newcomers. So let me give you an example that always sticks with me to help out. And I'm not sure if I gave it on the previous video, but yeah, I think I did. Just imagine as, a parent and a kid relationship, basically, right? You have a parent and take that as a base class, right? Your parent is going to be a base class, and the derived class is going to be the child class, right? So, as a child, you are going to derive the factors of everything that your parents have. Okay, not 100%, right? But you inherit so many things. So to give you an example, I have a picture right here, right? We have a automobile, which is our base class. Okay, this is our base class, and then car and bus, which is the derived class of automobile. You know, so that's why these are known as derived class, because they derive from the automobile, right? And then now in car we have Ford and BMW, so that means now Ford and BMW is going to get pretty much every methods or fields that car has, like it says right here, right? The derived class inherits the member of the base class, including fields, methods, and events, right? So this is pretty much the overall picture, or I would say the basics of inheritance. Like, this is all you pretty much need to wrap around in your head for now, as a newcomer, as a beginner. If you know this, you are way ahead of everybody else, right? All right, so moving on, right? The syntax, right? Okay, brother, how does the syntax look? Well, let me show you. The syntax for the inheritance, right? In C sharp is pretty much straightforward, but it's a little bit different if you're coming from Java, right? Um, so in Java, you use the word keyword extends basically. Um, so how does it look like? Okay, what does it look like? Well, it's pretty much declare using the colon character right here. Like, I'll show you guys this later, but I have a class Ford, which is being derived from car, right? So that means in this case, car is our parent class and this is our child class. So base class and derived class. Ford is a derived class of car, basically, right? So pretty much self-explanatory, and I don't think we have to spend way too much time on the syntax. Anyways, we'll get into the little bit of a demo at the end, but yeah, just know this is pretty much you know how you inherit, or inherit from the parent class or the base class. All right, moving on. Benefits. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Very important, right? Well, And inheritance, pretty much, it provides so many different benefits, okay? The number one benefits that you are gonna hear is basically the code reuse, right? Let's say you have a method, on your, let's go back to our car example, right? A year, okay? You have a method called year in car, right? What year is it, right? Well, when the Ford basically inherits from the car class, well, it's going to have that method in it as well, right? It's going to have that method. And you can see that later on my demo, we will get to that in a bit. You can see you can kind of override it too. So you can have a Ford have its own year, and then car is going to have their own year. But the thing here is you don't have to remake that method that you had in car, because if you are inheriting from car as a Ford class, then, well, you don't have to make that method again because it's already done for you. That's the power of inheritance, right? The code reuse, right? And it's very easy to maintain, and it's very clean by design, okay? And like it says, by allowing a class to inherit from another class, code can be reused without having to write from scratch. And that is, in programming, there's a method called dry, which is do not repeat yourself. Try not to copy and paste. In some cases you might have to, but try to avoid it as much as you can. Remember that, dry, do not repeat yourself, okay? And in addition, the changes to the base class can be easily propagated, basically, right, to the derived class, making maintenance easier. And lastly, using inheritance can kind of result in cleaner design, right, since the code is more organized and very easier to understand, basically, okay? And I have a little bit of picture there. Change my benefits, change my Facebook name to benefits, so, when you add me, you're friends with benefit. Okay, alright, let's not get into that, but alright, what are the different challenges? Well, right, everything pretty much has challenges on its own. Some are a little bit harsh, some are like, pretty fixable, but in inheritance in C Sharp, it can present some challenges. Well, the first challenges would be that if the base class is changed, then the derived class may not function correctly, and that could require a lot of debugging and refactoring, right? So you guys need to be really careful on that part. And also, if the base class is not designed properly, then you're gonna run into even more complexity, basically, and it's gonna kind of like make it difficult for somebody else coming in to understand, like, hey, what the heck is going on. So these are the few things that you need to be kind of careful, and there's more to it, but we're just covering basics, right? We don't want to get too nitty gritty because it confuses a lot of people. you know as I'm learning, I feel like too much detail kind of confuses me as well, so I want to make it as simple as possible, right? I don't know. It's just I try to look out many YouTube videos where it makes it pretty simple, but there weren't very many. So I decided to take matters into my own hand. All right. Anyways, I'm learning, guys. So please, yeah. Sorry. Well, moving on. So what are the different use cases, right? Well, in inheritance in C sharp or any language, like I said earlier, right, can be used to a great effect in a number of different use cases, right? So the number one is that it can be used to create a base class for a set of related class that all need to share a certain functionality, right? Self-explanatory right there. We have talked about that before as well, right? And also it can be used to create a class hierarchy. Okay, now what the hell is a class hierarchy? Well, as you can see in the picture, we have a class A, right? Class A is the base class, and now class B is inheriting from class A. Now that's a derived class, right? Now look at this. Now class B is inheriting, or sorry, class C is inheriting B, and D is also inheriting B. Okay? So that pretty much shows you the hierarchy of this, right? You can see it's going like level by level by level. So that right there is the simplest as I could make, right? It's class A, right? Class B is deriving from class A. Now C and D is deriving from class B. So that is kind of creating a hierarchy right there, right? And also, the use cases would be that it can be used to create a reusable library of like common functionality, and that can be used by multiple classes. Okay. Well, let's get dirty. Wait, that sounded wrong. This one, guys. Let's get our hands dirty, right? All right, so let me exit out of this and kind of bring you guys here. Okay. So I have 3 classes. This is where my main method is, right? And I have 2 classes, a car class, like we talked about earlier, which is this is going to be our base class, and we have Ford, which is going to be the derived class, okay? In car class, I basically have a method that's called year, okay? And it has 2023 as its year, right? Well, now let me show you the trick, right? Let me show you the trick here. So let's just go back to program.cs, right, on our main function. I already made the classes, okay? I already made the classes here. So now let's try to print out Ford. And then now look at that. I'm getting no error when I have year and Ford, even though our Ford has no method. Well, how is that possible? Well, like we talked about earlier, it's all about inheritance, right? Since Ford class is inheriting from car class, it automatically gets this method. Okay, it's already there. Okay, now to prove you guys, okay, let's run fd.year, which is by the way, I'm creating an object right here, right? I have to make an object, and I'll show you why I need to make an object for this, to show you guys this, right? I could have just used a static method, but it's actually not possible because you need to use the virtual keyword, because if you get rid of virtual keyword, right? Well, now, okay, we'll get back to that later, because it might get confusing. But just think of it as just a method, right? So let me run this, and look at that. It says 2023. Okay, well, how about we comment this out, right? And we run car.year, right? Well, these are going to give you both the same answer, right? 223. I mean, not 223, 2023, right? Well, all right. But you're going to be like, what are you doing? I don't have a Ford that's a 2023. What are you doing? Okay, well, that's when you start overriding methods, basically, okay? Well, what the hell is that? Okay, I'll show you, right? Now, what you can do is you can kind of use this override keyword is basically like it's just there to kind of let people know, like, hey, or yourself know that, hey, I'm overriding it here, okay? So you don't confuse yourself. So don't worry about too much about that. And now you can have public void year, right? And now if you do make its the year its own method, and then have your own stuff that you want there, right? So I have 2022 Ford. All right, now let's go back, right? Let's go back to this, and now let's print out Ford. Look at that, 2022. You see that? Now going back to our virtual thing, right? What if I didn't have virtual? Okay, what does that do? Well, look at that. Now you get an error saying that Ford cannot overwrite inherited member because it is not marked as a virtual, abstract, or overwrite. Okay, so this is literally what the virtual keyword does. It tells C# that, hey, this method can be overwritten anywhere. Any derived class could basically overwrite it. If you don't have virtual, then it would not know that, and it would not let you overwrite. So you need that virtual keyword, basically, right? And as soon as we have virtual keyword in there, ta-da, everything is working flawlessly. Alrighty, guys. With that, I'm going to kind of wrap it up. I was hoping that video would be a lot more shorter than this, but it turned out to be almost 15 minutes. So, well, Peace out, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Thank you.